Hey everyone, my name is Dr. Ryan Sinclair. I'm an environmental microbiologist and I'm teaching this environmental epidemiology course. It's a seminar course, EPDM 625. The purpose of this course is to go through the basics of environmental epidemiology and give you a modern perspective on it as well. Environmental epidemiology has been around now for several decades, but there's new thoughts on it, and I'd like to introduce you to those as well as give you the basics and fundamentals of what it actually is. This is a doctoral level course, so we're not going to be focusing in on the instructional modalities that you usually have with a bachelor's level course. But instead, we're going to have this course based on interaction, discussion, readings. So the way this course is laid out is in Canvas. I have a link to the syllabus here. Let's see. This is the syllabus. And you can see advanced topics in epidemiology course. This is in the description of the syllabus, overview of environmental surveillance, concept as an important interdisciplinary public health framework. You get down here and you'll see what some of the items are. You've got the textbooks. This one, Max Liberon, Pollution is Colonialism, and then Stanley Moraine, and that's the environmental tracking for public health surveillance. And then also there's a couple of other textbooks that I provide the PDF for. If you go down to the actual points, this sort of talks through the syllabus here, the schedules, but let me get to the attendance and interaction is 50 points, 25% of the grade, because this is a discussion-based course. I do want to meet on Zoom. I'm going to give you some case studies to work through, and those are 5 at 10 points each. And then I'll give you some homework quiz questions. Those will be quiz-like, but they also might be questions that I give you in person, in class, as an oral exam. So everything's worth about 25%, total of 200 points, 100%. It is pretty heavy on discussion, so I do want you to show up for the 12 to 1 schedule. I sent that out for Zoom already. Everything else is standard. The course itself goes over to introduction to environmental epi. We talk about environmental justice and how to make decisions based on the people that actually live in the environment that you're monitoring. And then we go through some basic topics, wastewater-based epi. We go through air sampling, we go through water sampling and water quality, and then we go through other topics as well, and then we jump back into environmental justice again. And you can see that in the way that I have the course laid out. Now, that was a syllabus, and you can click on it here in the course. If you go to home, you'll find that. I just have the modules on your home. You'll come in and you click that for the syllabus if you like. Overall, what I have here, though, is I have a couple of links here about environmental epidemiology, and then I have each week. So each module is a week. And each week we're going to be discussing a different thing. This week is introduction. Next week we're going to start talking about the book Pollution is Colonialism. And then after that, study designs, exposure assessment, air pollution, water pollution. We'll also talk about wastewater-based epidemiology in there. And then we're going to actually end up again, after we get into the thick of it with the topics, this book here, Pollution is Colonialism. This is chapter 1, I think, for you to read. The last few weeks, or last week, we're going to talk about it again, and there's a critical assessment and a critical review of Pollution is Colonialism that we'll go over. So what I normally do is I'd like you to, this week, I just want you to read some topics. I have a bit of a study guide for you to read. It's here, student summary lecture notes. And then I'm going to have next week, we're going to have a discussion, and then I might do a quick oral assessment for everybody in the class. And that's just something really quick so we can do that in class rather than have you have a quiz or homework. But I do want to judge how well you're reading and understanding the material. And I'll do that based on some of the initial work here. Now, I do have a little bit of a lecture outline that I'm following, and I actually posted that one down here. That one's called Student Summary Lecture Notes, and you can look at that. But anyway, some more logistics. One of the things here is that I do want you to lead the class. So if you look at the syllabus again, and we go back down to the assignments, let's see. I don't necessarily have this in the syllabus so much, but this is actually, I think, a substitution for the final reflection paper. And what I want you to do for that is to actually lead the class. And I have in the assignments, you can see what you're going to be graded on there. I think it's in here. It might not be in here yet. 30-minute, greater than 30-minute teaching presentation. So that's available for you to do anytime during the class, and I'd like you to actually review one of the week's topics. So what you have to do is you go through, and for that week, you decide to pick it. And so this is the rubric that I have there. But for whatever week that you're in, so say you wanted to do a presentation on week 3, which is study designs, and you do the presentation on study designs, and you do a 30-minute teaching session. There's only 3 of you in the course, so 3 of these will be covered. Say you want to do exposure assessment or air pollution. You go in, and then you can go to this assignment and see the guidelines for that. And that's the assignment that you have for doing this assessment. And the way that I have the syllabus, sometimes the syllabus is going to actually change from what we're doing in the course, but you're going to follow what you can follow from what's in the modules here. This is like the master, because I'm not going to go and update the PDF every time we modify something. Another thing is, so as far as logistics go, I want to meet every Wednesday, 12 to 1, and I just decided on that day because of availability of one of you so far, but I do want to keep this as a pretty serious meeting. We're not going to meet this week, first week, but we should be meeting next Wednesday, so a week from Wednesday. And if you want to find out when those meetings are, you just go here, you click on Zoom, and then you go to Wednesday, April 8th, and you can click here. And then also, if you want to see the recording of it, because these are all going to be recorded, you go over here to Cloud Recordings, and then you can see the Cloud Recordings. All right, so that's how that goes. Now, this first week, wanted to just go over a few things. Want you to do some reading. So I want you to read first textbook chapter 1, Introduction to Environmental Epidemiology. And that's sort of the first part for you to understand environmental epi and what's like the traditional framework for environmental epi. After that, after next week, maybe during next week a little bit, we're going to sort of the Max Liberon is colonialism concept. And then we're going to go in and jump into more environmental epidemiology and into sort of that course, that topic some more. So in general, environmental epidemiology, the study of on human health of physical, biological, and chemical factors in the external environment. So how are those things actually impact health? That's what environmental epi is. The Merrill textbook is a pretty general textbook. It's going to go in, we're going to find all of the different we're going to find all the different concepts there. They have chapters for each of the different concepts, and that's the environmental human health link, the human activities and environment. I'll show you what I'm reading here because this is actually the student summary lecture notes at this point here. So you can click on that and see it from the week 2. So everything to go through the environmental human health link, human activities in the environment. How do these things lead to pollution and environmental problems? Sources of pollution, natural cycles and human interference, routes of exposure, the different routes of exposures and how are people impacted from that. So of exposure, when you hear that phrase, that implies dermal, so through the skin, oral, you're eating it or drinking it, respiratory, you're breathing it in, couple of other ones, ocular or through psychological exposures, can also be environmental exposures. And the routes of exposure topic, and then what's the role of public health? Like, what can you actually do with it after you talk about it? Then we'll talk about some method concepts like study designs. You've all covered this. You're all epidemiologists already. Ecologic studies, case control, cohort studies, challenges in studying low-level chronic exposures, specific populations. We're done talking about that. I do want to get into the Liberon about pollution is colonialism concept. What is colonialism and what does that impact in the environment? We do need to talk about that. And this notes go on through that. So without further ado, I'm going to close this and you can review these notes. And also read some of the chapters here. So this first chapter I'd like you to read is this one here, Merrill. Let me open this so you can see it in the canvas. And then we also have this one, which gives you a pretty good introduction to environmental epidemiology. Let me see if these are opening. Okay, so this is a scanned textbook, but this is the epidemiology textbook that you have. And methods and environmental epi, introduction, basic elements. You can see that chapter 1 here is just the overall. So this is what I'd like you to read for this week. So go through this one, and we're going to have some more discussion on it in person next week. So this is what your task is for this week, is that I want you to read through this one. Then if you keep going, I also have for you this basic environmental epidemiology intro, and this is from the National Academies. Also goes through several things. This is a long document, 300 pages, but go through the summary and then through the first chapter. It's pretty much the same. The other one. And then we also have this one as kind of a resource of health and environmental epidemiology. The main book that we're going to read is this Merrill book, and so we're going to go for that one. Okay, these are just kind of as supplements. Maybe what I'll do on this is I'm going to just add another, make this look like it's optional, these 2 readings here. The main reading that I want you to have, though, is this Merrill book here. And I'll make it clear in these modules. And then next week, I'll have you read both, and then Pollution is Colonialism. You can look through the first chapter of this, and I'll put this on here as well. So that's what you have for this week, is the 2 reading outputs. So read these 2 things. Read chapter 1 of Merrill and the first chapter of Max Liberon. And yeah, read both of those, and then we're going to have a discussion next Wednesday. And I'll also have more assessments for you then. But so you're going to do that. Also, the other task I want you to do this week is to find out which one of these topics you'd like to do a 30-minute teaching presentation on. So if you go to all of these, look at all of these different topics and see which one you kind of with you, and then 30-minute presentation. And if you want to see some of the guidelines for that, I don't think that this is available for you to see yet. Yeah, choose one that you like, and then go to this schedule here. Oops, let's see. That actually is the wrong link, so I'm glad but I do have, this one right here, EPDM 625 schedule. Okay, which one of these teaching topics would you like? And then I also want you to do a 5-minute presentation as well. And so which one of the would you like for the 5-minute presentation? These are 2 different things. The teaching presentation is didactic. I want you to introduce all of the topics that are in the reading. You don't, I said all of the topics, but you actually don't have to do all of the topics, but a good amount of the topics, and have an engaging method for teaching as well, like interactive and not just a lecture. And then the 5-minute presentation as well is something I'd like you to do, and you can read more about that in the syllabus. So choose a date. I want you to put your name here. So you're going to choose one of these dates, and each one of these dates corresponds to a certain topic. And if you put your name down for these dates, that means that you would do that topic. And I can do to make this a little more transparent is I'll actually put the topics on those dates so you can see what's up. Let's just keep going with that, and that's it for now. I'm gonna just post this video as the sort of introduction first week. And again, we're not gonna meet this Wednesday. I want you to read through the chapters, and then next week we're gonna meet on Wednesday.